Hi, this is Brian Shoemaker. I'm a family lawyer and divorce mediator. Today we're going to talk about in the video safety in divorce mediation. Mediation is probably one of the best ways for a couple wanting to get divorced to save money, cut the drama. But mediation isn't always the best for every case, and not every mediator is necessarily a good fit for you. So today we're going to talk about how you can make sure that your divorce mediation is safe, or to see if it's the right process for you. So the first thing I want to talk about, and by the way you'll see both here and later about our website. Now, safety in divorce mediation, we're going to talk about session protocols, hot topics, special concerns, and how to move forward. The difficulty is when people come into a mediation setting, it's a voluntary process, how do they feel safe? Both spouses need to feel safe in order for the spouses to be able to talk about really difficult things, whether it's about the children, whether it's about finances or spousal or child support. To work through those legal and financial issues, both parties need to feel safe enough. Now, we might not always be able to have complete safety, but there's got to be a sufficient level of safety that they can go, all right, I can talk about this, I'm not alone, I'm not at risk, we can talk about these things. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. The first topic we have here is session protocols. In session protocols, this applies to everybody who goes through a divorce mediation. In my case, what we do is we have a document that people will read, and basically it says everyone's going to talk respectfully to each other. We're only going to talk with I statements like I feel or I think, and we're not going to have personal attacks. And finally, both spouses will authorize me with the power of interrupting the session at any time to make sure that there's safety. And that's happened before. Now, sometimes all that's needed is to reframe the discussion, and both spouses go, oh yeah, that's right, I remember, I'll use I statements. All right, that's right, you're correct, I need to speak respectfully. Other times I've had to interrupt, and we need to take a break for 5 minutes. Other times I've had to stand in between two spouses, not that it was getting violent, but that the verbal confrontation kept going, and that was the way that we kind of had to begin to create safety. We also have different rooms here so that if we need to, I can shuttle back between different rooms to make sure that both spouses feel safe. But after we have the discussion of what these protocols are, they then sign it, and it's something that we can refer to, in any given session that says, as we agreed, we're going to talk respectfully. As we agreed, you're going to use I statements, and this is the time that you've authorized me to interrupt. So that seems to work for probably about 90% of the cases. Let's talk about hot topics. Almost always when a couple comes into my office and they're wanting to get a divorce or explore a divorce or a legal separation, the communication has degraded so much that they could hardly talk to each other in a civil tone or without it triggering in the other a lot of reactivity. And then it begins to devolve into a complete mess. So what we need to do here is, how can we establish that safety? Also, people come in with a broken trust. Maybe they just learned that the other spouse is having an affair. That can cause such hot emotional reactivity that creating a safe environment in a divorce mediation becomes an important priority. Other times people they try to be nice or fair and nice and fair, and when they don't speak their mind or speak their truth, the resentment builds up to such a point that then they kind of explode. And if they're in that mode, then we kind of have to know where we are. And finally, for a lot of people, most divorces build up over time. There's a lot of conflict that's there, and sometimes it's just at a crescendo. And trying to quiet that noise is not always easy. In other cases, there's fatigue. People are so tired of fighting that how can they stay connected within the process, feel safe within the process so that the fatigue doesn't drive them out. So let's talk about some of our special concerns. Now, under special concerns, we have domestic violence is probably the hottest topic. I know it's certainly not the only one. If the case has an ongoing, recent domestic violence situation, divorce mediation may not be the best process. However, not every domestic violence situation is identical to another. Some may be low grade, and sometimes the spouses have become acclimated to certain, if not domestic violence, coercive controlling type environments. And those need to be monitored, because if people are going to make decisions that will impact the rest of their lives, being able to recognize and deal with, to some degree, a power imbalance or an attempt to exert control, or worse yet, someone is in fear of their life of coming to a divorce mediation session, we'll have to make sure where things are and how we can move forward. The next one is conflict habits. Every couple has created a conflict dance with the other spouse. When one spouse gives the look, makes the statement, brings up a certain topic, the other one instantly is triggered and away they go. And the fight, flight, freeze menu of options, the spouses have already learned and practiced and created these neural pathways and flushing of chemicals through their body that they've practiced over and over again. So knowing what the conflict habits are as they begin to rise will allow us to create safer mediation sessions. Some people, and sometimes it's both spouses, may have a difficult personality. You might call these like a borderline personality or narcissistic personality. And that could be someone who's got a disorder, right? Or someone who just has those traits. And, on the one hand, people with narcissistic traits, they tend to be highly productive. But on the other hand, that narcissism, even in trait form, can make voluntary discussions difficult to deal with. So, again, dealing with difficult personalities is an important recognition so that we know then how to move forward and make a mediation session safer. Finally, some cases have a spouse has experienced a traumatic experience. Maybe they were in battle, or maybe the trauma is much older. Maybe it's a childhood trauma. And of course, divorces tend to trigger powerful emotions, basic emotions in people, as does attachment. And so a lot of times if people have had a post-traumatic experience, or they have attachment issues, those can really surface in a mediation. And so knowing how, that appears to be a insecurely attached person, or that person may have PTSD, knowing that can help us, again, then try to fit together ways to make the mediation safer for the divorce process. So what we want to do in any divorce mediation is to make it safe. Why? If both spouses feel safe, then the idea is we can work through all the financial issues, all the children issues, at a faster, more efficient rate. We can save people money. Imagine trying to work out those issues within a litigated context. It'll just be multiple motions after multiple motions, and you'll have a crescendo of litigation expenses, because each lawyer is trying to maximize their spouse's perspective, point of view. And if it involves domestic violence or PTSD or attachment, and there's not a way to try and quell that self-circulating lack of safety, it can spell a lot of money going out to lawyers in litigation, as opposed to in a mediated context where we've got a pretty good chance to try and quell a lot of situations. Now, I have to admit, divorce mediation will not make every case safe, and therefore we need to kind of figure out from the outset, is this case a good case for divorce mediation? But my experience has been, somewhere in the vicinity of about 90% of cases probably would benefit more from a mediated divorce than they would from a litigated divorce. So you can go to our website at shoelawfirm.com, or you can call us at 246-1669 and schedule your own consultation, and we can see how divorce mediation can work for you.